Ahoy there, and welcome back to the last episode of DohMance Dawn for the year 2024, because next episode we're going to be in 2025. And I want to be sedated. I'm Luke, he, him, sometimes they, them, and I am joined by my lovely, wonderful, and divisible by the number 4 co-host, Janine.
Hello, my name is Janine Juliet. My pronouns are she, they, and I still don't have a third thing to say by the end of 2024.
Are you divisible by 4?
I've never tried it before.
Don't knock it until you try. I have no idea what that means. I was just trying to look up something. Yeah, we are wrapping up Amazon Lily this week. We're going to check in on some friends. We're going to have to cancel someone, and it's altogether a pretty standard episode of DohMance Dawn. We've got our robot friends here, and we've got the mad scientists who are making us do this podcast. That's going to be something that we're introducing. It's going to be a Mystery Science Theater 3000 type setup now, where we're going to introduce a bunch of new characters. We're going to do a bunch of live riffs on One Piece and The Simpsons, and if you subscribe to the $20 a month level, you'll get access to those. And I don't actually have to do any of those unless we have people subscribing at the $20 a month level. But then if we do have that, that would help, because I'm still currently unemployed, but I know that it would be nice to do things like have money to do more silly things with the podcast. And it's episode 68. Almost nice.
Dun, 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 dun.
That's right, Janine. It's a 69 watch. Nice.
Dun, 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 dun.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, as we were getting into this podcast, I had a comment on the last episode. I said that Cienega was a highway, but Cienega is not a highway, but a north-south arterial road in Los Angeles. So you can stop emailing me about that, and stop sending me posts on Blue Sky about that, and stop forcing me to open up a Twitter account so I can shut down the old Twitter account where you're sending me messages about that. But yeah, we are back here for episodes ranging between August 30th and October 11th of the year 2009. Do you have any memories from that time?
I think that that was during the point of my life where I was getting reintroduced to marijuana, so I don't have any memories of that point of my life.
That would have been when I changed roommates for the first time at college, and it actually really went well for a quarter, because instead of essentially having 4 people living in the same shared apartment space and never really interacting unless you absolutely needed to, or the weird things where you're sharing a room and a bathroom with someone and you get back early and they're like, oh god, no, please don't come in here, I locked the door for a reason. And we actually did meal planning together, so each of us had a night that we had to cook dinner for the rest of the room, and I got to go and pick up groceries for everyone. I enjoy grocery shopping.
This doesn't really surprise me, but also it's not a thing that I could feel safe guessing out loud about.
Oh yeah, Luke, the guy I do that podcast with, yeah, he seems like he enjoys grocery shopping to me. Yeah, I guess when you say it like that, it sounds kind of... I don't know. What does it say about me that you think that I would enjoy grocery shopping?
I don't know. Earlier today, we were literally messaging, and I was talking about a grocery store that just opened up right near me.
Oh, HEB.
And Yeah, HEB, and like I just mentioned, like that I think that you would like it. And like what I mean by that is like I think that you would actually like being inside of this particular grocery store that's by my place
Hmm.
and just shopping around in that experience. Like you have the vibe that that is something that would like genuinely excite you.
Dog, I ended up needing to pick up a loaf of French bread to make homemade French bread pizzas earlier this week because I didn't want to get it on like Friday and then it would be dry by the time that like I was going to start using them. And I went to a new Giant Eagle Marketplace location, and it is so nice in there because the one that I had been going to is in a quote unquote nicer neighborhood. Like it's where a bunch of rich assholes live. But this one got redone recently, and all the aisles are just like so nice, and their produce section is just well laid out. I'm still learning parts of it, and I had to look around for their snack cheeses a bit more than I had expected to because they didn't have good labeling. But now that I know where it is, yeah, I'm very excited to go to this grocery store. I'm a real grocery store kind of guy. But yeah, so did you know that Subway will just sell you meat, like Subway sandwiches?
Just the loose meat,
Yes.
no
Uh,
bread.
yeah. Like 4 weeks into that quarter, I had planned to do French dip sandwiches, where I was like, I made an au jus, and then I found out the day of that, oh, one of the roommates had been eating the roast beef because he didn't know I was planning to cook with it. And it was like, oh God, where am I going to go? Because where the Art Institute of Pittsburgh used to be was a food desert essentially. And it's like, well, I don't know if I can do this. Can I just go to Subway? And it turns out that, yeah, if you are offering them money, Subway will just be like, yeah, we'll fill up a thing of roast beef with you. And it's going to have that weird patina where it looks like it's been like an oil spill.
Yeah.
Hmm. That was also, I believe, the quarter when I tried to make fried ravioli bites, and I trusted the roommates with hot oil and came back with them having set off the fire alarm, and I lost two cooking instruments, but they were made of that black plastic that everyone says is killing you now.
Amazing.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, it was good times. I tried harder than anyone else did, and I also purposefully skipped a few meals that other people made because it was like, yeah, you're doing a lower class of like Midwest cooking than I'm comfortable with. I'm not sure that diced ham and corn and rice is really a meal. Like maybe you grew up with it. I do not have an interest in this. There's no you don't have any spices in there.
Oh my god.
Hmm. Yeah. Uh, we are also like in the era where this is when they stopped making Simpsons DVDs.
Huh.
Yeah, which is why Meme SRC, which I had been using for the seasons of The Simpsons that Frankiak did not cover, does not have images anymore. So finding some of these image references is going to be harder. So thank you to the freaks on Wiki Simpsons and Simpsons Wiki for having galleries of just
Honestly, like
screenshots.
their work has kind of kept this whole thing rolling.
Yeah, yeah, I there are certain categories that I wish were easier to find, or I wish that you could do like Boolean multi searches, but there's not really a functionality for that. Like, give me all blue haired characters who are also criminals. Give me all dog owners who are also voiced by Hank Azaria.
Ooh.
And Unless you're paying the $40 a month level, you are not seeing the video version of this podcast where I do have some high tech advanced screens and I am actually moving them across as I run this search through my high tech Minority Report style computer.
Wow. That
Uh huh.
makes me want to subscribe at the $40 level just hearing about it.
Yeah. Please make me write a check that my ass can't cash. Uh, it's going to bounce. My credit rating will be ruined, and it's been a time. Uh, yeah. You have anything else to add before we get into Simpsons episodes?
Uh, I don't know. It's it's a weird one.
Yeah.
There
Uh,
are times like this where I feel like I should have some sort of um aftercare routine after particular episodes like this, both
mhm.
of The Simpsons and of One Piece, that just kind of make me sit like step back for a second and just think, damn,
What
do
are they
I
on?
yeah, do I still enjoy this the same way, or is this the deal breaker? Because you got to
Uh,
ask that question every time.
yeah. The new Simpsons season has had some solid ones and also some rough ones, but also I started rewatching season 10 and on because that's kind of where people start to say, "Oh yeah, it's no longer the golden era," even though there is a lot of memes from that era. And it's like, yeah, what we're watching in now for The Simpsons, I think, is better written because it relies less on jerk-ass Homer. Because jerk-ass Homer really pushes a lot of the storylines in that like 10 and 11 season. But like the new stuff is just it some of the episodes are very good and they try new things, and others it's like I don't understand this from a basic storytelling point. I don't think that you've set up things, and I don't think that your experimentation excuses the like inherent story flaws. Groceries.
I really want to talk more about groceries now, just to balance things out. This is
uh
now a grocery podcast.
mhm. Welcome to DohMance's Grocery Games. I personally love using reusable bags. I've gotten a few of them, and I need to start incorporating some more of my outrageous ones because I do have my Hell is Full one where it's a Branson Reese illustration of a rabbit jumping out of a fox's mouth, and it says Hell was full. It's very
That's
good.
pretty cool. That sounds
Mhm.
badass.
I have a the map of the like Moomin lands that I got from Siri or from Siri, and I also have a Pikmin one that I picked up at the Nintendo store the last time that I went earlier this year. But I also have like a Silver Sprocket one and some other ones that I'll be adding in, along with some like more heavy duty plastic ones that you want to use for like meat and other stuff that can cause problems if it gets loose. Do you
I've been
use
using a reusable bag that I got from the vintage wrestling store in Philadelphia
mm-hmm.
when I was up there. And I have that filled with the reusable bags that I buy from the HEB whenever I forget to bring my bags.
I leave mine in the car most of the time, but sometimes they don't make it from the living room to the car, and so I've had to fill in a few times. Or like when I was sick with COVID earlier this year, we did grocery delivery, And it was the dumbest thing because it's like, well, they're going to keep sending us new reusable bags, but we don't actually have a chance to reuse them. And so eventually I was just able to pass most of them off. Okay, but yeah, we're like 15 minutes and we should talk shows. If y'all want more grocery talk or personal life talk, we're not opposed to that. But the first episode was Homer the Whopper, where comic book guy apparently has been creating Everyman, who is a hot and easily suable comic book character who has the power of any comic book character. And Hollywood is interested in making a movie, and he gets to pick the actor to play him, and he picks Homer. Homer is given a trainer, Lyle, to help him slim down to be more Hollywood fit, which succeeds until the trainer has to leave. Homer starts eating again and regains the weight, which ruins the suit. They force finishing the film, and it is such a mess that everyone disowns it, including comic book guy, who turns down the offer to direct the sequel if he would lie about it. And wow, this is a movie from the early days of the MCU. Because by this point, it had been like Iron Man 1 and Incredible Hulk. And I don't think Iron Man 2 was out yet.
Well, damn.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like it does say a lot about Hollywood in the very Simpsons way of just like talking about how everybody's fake. But I was kind of both surprised and not surprised to see comic book guy's like final decision when he's faced up with the idea of being able to direct a sequel or to be true to himself.
Mm-hmm.
A guy that likes to complain. And like you saw like little glimpses of him, pockets of him inside of Hollywood and just being like a Hollywood guy for like a couple of like barely like 5-second scenes.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I liked it, and it's a good, strong first episode for season 21 that we're starting on now. And I, after that, am a little bit optimistic about what we can be able to see from this season now.
I would also say, though, this was written by Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg.
Really?
Which is why Seth Rogen shows up as Lyle. It will say, hey, we're big fans. We are, like, successful writers now and comedians, so let us write The Simpsons, a show that we love. Which is not the worst, and this is apparently like the second episode where someone got to write and guest star in an episode as like a special. The other being Ricky Gervais, which
Oh, right. Yeah,
that's
that
why
one.
he wrote the only character that Ricky Gervais ever plays. Yeah. From a superhero perspective, or from a superhero nerd perspective, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, this character would get sued so many times, and also I know so many. I have seen this concept done before in a completely serious way, because the everyman character could not exist in modern day. Just totally sued. Anything else for this one?
Not really.
Okay.
None of the
Uh,
gags really stand out, is the thing.
I mean, we now get Ben Kingsley, Sir Ben Kingsley.
That's true.
Hmm. The next episode we had is Bart gets a Z. Uh, Edna Krabappel comes down against phones in the classroom, so the students end up slipping alcohol into her coffee, and she gets drunk, caught, and fired. The class ends up getting a new young teacher who loves technology, and everyone kind of loves him. Bart goes to visit Edna and realizes that she is sad, so he tries to get her into the answer so she can achieve her goals, and she ends up opening a muffin store, and that's when Bart reveals that he got her fired. But it turns out that instead of being mad, angry at him, she's just disappointed in him and is unhappy. So Bart debates trying to get the new teacher fired, but instead he does the mature thing and tells Principal Skinner the truth, and Skinner is kind of unable to do things, but then the new teacher gets drunk on his own and gets fired, and Edna is rehired. I enjoyed the twists, but also I feel like Edna would know when she's getting drunk.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I've had coffee in Kahlua with different kinds of creamers that definitely had masked it to the point where I didn't know how much I was drinking.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I still had a small bit of an idea of what it was, but I think the joke that it was so much alcohol and hamster medication.
Mm-hmm.
um,
The montage of all the kids getting alcohol and alcohol like things was very solid.
yeah,
It kind of speaks to inherent alcoholism within the adults of Springfield.
yeah, a very big recurring thing that has been like, I mean, one thing that I really like about Wiki Simpsons is that they'll have like a page just for alcoholics. And I'm looking through there and I'm thinking, these people don't have a problem. But I remember a good amount of them being blackout drunk at multiple intervals.
Yeah, yeah. Recognizing alcoholism is a strange and difficult thing. We have fun here on this podcast. Um, yeah, I think the riffing on the answer was solid, and the new teacher who just loves technology, but who is also kind of like burnt out on everything, also a good bit.
Starting out the episode in Edna's perspective,
Mm-hmm.
I love that so much. I mean, it was you don't get to see that much when we've had moments with Edna where just small pieces of dialogue could be able to paint a larger picture of a very sad woman, but seeing it in motion played out before us, it really just does kind of hammer home that she's kind of a loser, and I kind of find that hot.
I mean, yeah, I mean, she is a person who has a lot of love and care to give, and who has been exploited both by like previous people she has loved and even the school system that she works for. I mean, she fights to have a like bare minimum work, like a bare minimum paycheck for the amount of work that she does, and she works with Bart frickin' Simpson, which is not easy. She works with a school district that has routinely like abandoned teachers in their time of need. And I do think that you are also a person who sees that need and would love to be there and to provide her compassion and a shoulder to cry on. And I think that you might be able to help her, but I think that she.
Cause I knew a lot more about hockey.
You were setting me up for the Janine quote button.
The amazing
Partially.
thing about that is just the length that you have went to in order to use a different button.
I know. Yeah, I'm trying to stop taking the easy way out. I don't want to always just go to the Janine button. I will talk around it. Because then when you do see it, it's going to be a surprise. Yeah, it kind of wraps itself up. I do appreciate that Bart did have enough of a growth period from this episode and actually felt like he learned a lesson. And I like that.
Do you guys remember in episode 68 of DohMance Dawn where everything just suddenly became like Death Note but with jokes?
I still haven't actually read Death Note.
You have read so much Yu-Gi-Oh!
Uh-huh. Because he's the
No.
king of games. And I've also read the other series about creating manga, Bakuman, by the people who created Death Note.
But not Death Note proper.
Yeah, because I went on a date with a girl a few times, and she talked a lot about Death Note and talked about how she had written out an entire stage play format of the first arc or so, and she talked a lot about what the various live action adaptations both in Japan and the US had failed to do. It's okay, cool. I don't feel the need to interact with this anymore. She also did not appreciate me monster factoring characters in Dragon Age 2. Death Note, groceries, DohMance Dawn has it all.
Do you still have her number? I mean,
No, I was very bad at communicating at that point, and didn't I didn't really ghost her, but it was kind of yeah, I don't think this is working out. This is 100% on me, and yeah. If I run into her again and she is interested in dating ladies, I will pass on your information. But
thank you. I'd appreciate that.
I am in support of your stance as
a person who's very turned on by middle-aged women.
Amazing how it got to. He still was able to do it.
The secrets of the Clow were all a mystery until that mighty book got open and powers were set free. The last episode is The Great Wife Hope. Also, sorry, this is unexpectedly a long episode. So, the men of Springfield are into ultimate punching, and it moves to the school where Bart is good at it, but Marge catches him and tries to get it banned during an official match. The owner of the Ultimate Punching League challenges Marge to a fight where if she wins, the league will shut down, and she accepts it. The community helps to get Marge trained. And then in the match, initially, the owner hits Marge with a punch that knocks her down. So Bart jumps in to protect her, and Marge gets angry. She pins the owner. He tries to cheat, so she knocks him out and wins, but no one cares because they just want to watch more fighting. And then in the end, we see Lisa knock out Bart in a fight as well. I think this one was poorly written. I feel like Marge's point wasn't really clear enough. The montage of training led to some wild things. We can now use Barack Obama.
Oh my god, that counts.
And Scooby-Doo.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So thank you, Dredrick Tatum's tattoos. But yeah, I think this was easily the worst of the episodes. Kind of very muddled and not a lot to say.
Yeah. Honestly, the Burns part of the training montage not only does not make sense,
Mm-hmm.
but the joke being that the joke runs too long doesn't work.
If it's actually too long, it doesn't go back to being funny.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I will agree with that.
Not much else to say. I mean, it opens up some doors, but I also feel like it could have. I don't know. Like, I just don't know anything about UFC to be like, oh, this is unrealistic. But, like, it. At least
You,
it's satisfying to see Lisa knock out Bart.
yeah, if there's nothing else, you get that moment. Polygon actually did a video earlier this year, I want to say, on kind of like the origin of UFC, where it started off as, hey, you know, Street Fighter, Janine, you know how like all these people practice different types of martial arts?
Yeah.
Uh, the problem is that most of the types of martial arts aren't actually compatible. And so at a point, a guy just realized, oh, it's best to kind of like drag a person down and lock them up as quickly as you can. And that's how you win. Like, there was apparently a match where Muhammad Ali fights another guy who essentially invents what would be ultimate fighting. And like, Ali can't hit him because Muhammad Ali is a boxer, and if someone is below your line for boxing, it's not really a viable strategy to like bend down and try and hit them, and you can't really kick them because of where your power is. And yeah, it's worth checking out, and also Ultimate Fight Girl on Adult Swim is worth checking out as well, which is teaching me about wrestling.
Hell yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. Anything else before we get into new characters unlocked?
No, let's get through it.
New characters unlocked include Prius Albertson, Everyman, Everyman Director 1, Everyman Director 2, Everyman the comic character, Everyman as Iron Man, Everyman as Plastic Man, the Maltese Vulcan owner, old Angelina Jolie, the security guard, the continuity editor, Eddie Murphy in a fat suit, old Harry Potter, Goodnight Gorilla, sexy Dewey Largo, and Kiss Cam Rats, along with many others. And then we are covering episodes of One Piece 415 through 421. These include Hancock's Confession, the Sisters' Disgusting Past,
Rescue Ace. The new destination is the Great Prison.
Love is a hurricane, Hancock and love.
The crewmates' whereabouts, weather science, and Kakori Island.
The crewmates' whereabouts, the island of giant birds and the pink paradise.
The crewmates' whereabouts, bridging the islands, and vicious vegetation.
The crewmates' whereabouts, the negative princess and the devil king.
Yeah. Worth it. So, after Boa Hancock orders the Amazons to leave, she sheds a tear before Luffy pleads for Hancock to reverse the petrification on the 3 Amazons who had helped him. She still wants to test Luffy, and so she forces him to choose that she will either bring Luffy where he wants to go, or she will save the Amazons. And without a moment to think, Luffy asks Hancock to save the Amazons because he's pretty sure he'll just find his way back to the crew no matter what. And this impresses the Gorgon sisters. God bless our sweet, stupid, dumb shit. So the 3 former statues are returned to flesh, and they return with the rest of the population. And Luffy is brought into the castle where he just wants food but gets plot information instead. Hancock shows the mark on her back that Luffy thought he recognized from the mark on Hachi's head, which, hey, you got that right. In that, that's kind of where Luffy was thinking about slave marks.
Oh, right, that particular one.
Mm-hmm. So, Granny Nyon tells the sisters that Luffy had punched a celestial dragon and opposed the government, which impresses them, and Hancock starts openly crying, remembering the man who saved her and her sisters. The mark on their backs is the claw of the celestial dragons, marking property of the world nobles, because all 3 of the sisters were former slaves who were captured from a Kuja pirate ship and sold and then forced to eat devil fruits. Then one night, a fishman snuck into Marie Joie. That man's name was Fisher Tiger, and he saved thousands of slaves. He then formed the Sun Pirates and overwrote their marks with the Sun Pirates logo. And some of those Sun Pirates eventually split into the Arlong crew, as well as Macro's crew. You remember Macro, the slave-keeping fishman?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And eventually, Granny Nyon found the sisters and brought them back to the island. So we just got some stuff that's going to be big there, including Fisher Tiger, Janine. You know what that is? You know what that means, right?
I don't, but I'm sure you're going to use
It's
that button.
Yeah, it's more of a Fisher Tiger watch. Yeah, Fisher Tiger is a great and complex character. But also, ultimately, he is a person who is not fucking afraid of the world government.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So, Hancock ultimately decides to help Luffy return to Sabaody, and she decides to stay back while Luffy is invited to a banquet where he gorges himself and then tries to get the Amazons to party with him, which they enjoy. Eventually, though, Luffy gets chased out and ends up finding Granny Nyon. Luffy hears that Boa Hancock is a warlord who has been called to show up for Ace's execution. Ace was turned in by Blackbeard, who is now a warlord, and this is all part of a government plot to call out Whitebeard. And that is when Luffy reveals that Ace is his brother. Luffy also realizes that if he went to Sabaody, he wouldn't get to the execution before Ace dies, but if he went directly on a Navy ship, then he could get there in time with Hancock. Luffy sees Ace's Vivre card, which is burning, and Granny Nyon warns that the prison where he is being kept, impel down, may be impossible to enter. Boa has also suddenly come down with a sickness that is killing her, which Granny Nyon recognizes. But when Luffy explains the situation to Hancock, she happily agrees because the Pirate Empress is in love, and love is always a hurricane! Granny Nyon warns Hancock that if she can't express her feelings, she will die, and they set off with Luffy, unaware, who says goodbye to his friends on the island. So that is when they get on to Momonga's ship, who is suspicious initially, but Hancock restores the Marines from petrification, and they head off. That is when we find out with the news 6 of the 7 warlords are going to be at Impel Down because the 7th warlord, Jinbei, is in prison for refusing to fight and is ready to give up his title. Meanwhile, Moby Dick, Whitebeard's ship, is coming towards Impel Down. Anything before we get into where those crew at?
Not really.
We get a lot. Do you see why I went with the Amy Rose for Boa Hancock?
It does kind of make things a little bit more comfortable, but also... it is kind of funny,
Mm-hmm.
but it also, like, yeah, I get what you mean with the age thing. Like, I can feel the uncomfortableness about it.
Yeah, the way that Hancock gets referred to, but then is also like obsessing over Luffy, who is like, I believe 18 at this point, is still one of those things where it's like, yeah, it ain't great, dog. It's one of the problematic age gaps in One Piece. And I think it's one of the harder ones to kind of ignore. But I think part of the fact that Luffy is completely uninterested in Hammock makes it not necessarily all right, but it defangs it slightly.
Yeah.
Like, we aren't at a Luc Besson level of uncomfortable age gap stuff. Yeah, that's right, Luc Besson. You know what you've done in several movies. Yeah,
Okay. One Piece.
One Piece. Yeah, and we now know all 7 current warlords, which Blackbeard does technically break the animal theming, and we could probably hold off on Jinbei until we get a bit more about that big boy. But now we go and split up. We do get some scenes of Luffy and Hancock on the Marine ship doing bits like, oh, she can't eat all this food, and then immediately she releases the empty plates and yada yada. Nami landed on a cloud island where Haridas, a weather scientist, finds her, and she is notably defensive. She works out that she was knocked out for 2 days, and Haridas goes on to share his wind knots. She finds out that the island that she is in a cyclone, and so she goes out to the storm and uses the knots to dispel the storm. And it turns out that she is on Weatheria, which is a island in the sky where they study weather. She's hanging out with a bunch of wizard-looking dudes.
Weather wizards.
Mm-hmm. On another island, Keaton, his grandfather and their cyborg dog, Teroimo, accidentally attacked Frankie while on the hunt for something. Frankie landed on the freezing island Baltimore, home to the genius Vegapunk. And when Frankie freezes, they bring him back to the city, and the doctors have no cola, so they fuel him up with tea instead, and he ends up a fancy man. A true shame.
A downgrade, really.
Yeah. Chopper lands alone on an island in a large bird nest on a massive tree. He eventually escapes, but is captured by the indigenous people, where he is set to be cooked. That is when the birds attack, because he is in the Torino or Birdie kingdom, which not great as a depiction of indigenous people, especially compared to like the like some of the Skypeans, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Sanji lands on an island chased by the drag queens of the Kamabaka kingdom, where he meets Elizabeth and the other residents who want to force femme him. Which, yeah, it's. I put in like a whole four paragraph preface for you on this, because when you kind of just have one word that you use to describe anyone who is queer, it really messes things up. And as I kind of go on and say, Oda does have some like queer characters, but like the depiction of what are drag queens is not great and feels transphobic in many ways.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
This shit right here probably made me feel like the most, step back and think about it
Yeah.
in a while. Like the last time that I had to step back and think about it was
Mr. Two.
no, the episode where Homer is Islamophobic.
Ah, oh, yep, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's it is a shitty thing that is going to recur. We are going to get some better, clear representation coming soon. But yeah, it's one of those things where Oda is weirdly fascinated by drag, and it is something that never fully works because all of his depictions, or early at this point, the depictions just do not appreciate what drag is trying to attempt in a way, and it's all a very specific designation. And I don't have the information needed to kind of say, hey, is this what drag was like in like the early 2010s? Because that wouldn't make things better, but that would at least add context. So yeah, I will try and give you warnings, Janine.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, because it sucks and I hate it, my friend. Meanwhile, Robin lands in the frozen country called Tequila Wolf, where a girl named Soren brings her back. The island is a work camp where they are building a massive bridge that has been under construction for centuries using both citizens and prisoners. Robin shares stories about her adventures, but one of the other workers betrays Robin. Robin almost escapes, but then she has to turn herself in to save the workers and is made to work on the bridge. Robin, you could have just started killing these guards. Like,
I feel like yeah, there wouldn't be anybody really lost in that instance because this is some real cruel shit going on.
also, if you notice that the animation was very different in this section, that is because a lot of this stuff is made for the filler. Like, Soren is not a canonical character.
Okay.
These sections were mostly told in like chapter covers initially, and then they got some follow-up sections, but uh yeah, you get more of a different animation studio feel for these sections, or for that section specifically. Usopp lands on a massive plant island with massive insects. He is saved by Heracles and finds out that the island is full of man-eating plantsoon. It is Greenstone or Glittenstone, the swindling forest in the Boyne Archipelago. How do you feel about Heracles?
I oh, I think if there's anybody who could have landed there that could benefit from being around somebody that weird, it would be Usopp.
Mm-hmm.
But also, God, I feel like this has the potential to really annoy me.
Because of the Heracles bit.
Yeah.
Fair. Zoro lands in the former Muggy or Kuraigana kingdom where Perona had ended up after Kuma sent her flying. She's upset that no one is there to serve her, and when Zoro lands there, she tries to help, but really she hides his swords and wraps them up in a Kumashi costume, and they are stuck together on that island.
I'm so happy to see her again.
Mm-hmm.
That goddamn annoying laugh that I love so much. This was my treat for having to go through the other stuff.
Mm-hmm. A group of cultists led by Pekori on Namakura Island in the Harahatania Kingdom try to summon Satan, which is when Brook lands on their island. The cultists ask him to destroy their enemies, but Brook just wants to get back to the crew. When they ask what he wants, he sees a girl, asks to see her panties, and then everyone just strips naked for him. That's what life is like as a rock star, Janine.
I guess.
And then the Marines, meanwhile, start to show up with a bunch of famous faces. Hey, we got our buddy back from, what? God, I'm blanking on the name. Mustache Man, Ned Flanders.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep, he gets to reappear from G8, which was like something that a lot of fans were a big fan of, and the six Whitebeard and the six warlords are there. And at Impel Down, Garp visits Ace, who warns that Whitebeard is coming, and Ace refers to Whitebeard as his father? Question mark, question mark, question mark.
I mean, I just have to go with it. I know nothing.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we know who Luffy's dad is.
Right.
Well, theoretically. I mean,
I don't know anything about their mothers.
We might be getting some things soon. We'll get to discuss that popular fan theory soon. Because oh boy, it's something that you are not expecting, and I don't know if you'll be on board for it. But we have up to 10 characters to match this week. I am sending you a link to my document because I have 3 picks for everybody. Are you ready for this, Janine?
As ready as I'll ever be.
Do you want to do Fisher Tiger this week? Or do you want to know more about him?
I want to know more.
Okay, so we will put him on hold. For reference, my picks for Fisher Tiger were Dr. Crab, Safety Salamander, and Rodrigo's style was Dr. Reptilicus. We then have Jinbei, and I assume that we also want to put Jinbei on hold?
Yes.
And my picks for him were Busman. My throwback was Too Much Surgery Homer. And my Rodrigo side was Sir Ben Kingsley, because Sir Ben Kingsley is from India, and that is the country that Jinbei would be from if you were born in the real world. So, we are up at first with Haridus, the Weather Wizard. And I have 3 picks. My Rodrigo style is the owner of the Maltese Vulcan. My throwback is Headmaster Greystash. And I also put on the Math Magician there, because who else is going to be a fucking nerd? Who do you have, Janine?
I have as my Rodrigo's style Rodney Dangerfield, because this guy does not get any respect from Nami at all, ever, at any point. And my other pick was the Earthland Wizard from Earthland, from Marge Gamer.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and what's this? We got some fan suggestions, because last time we had 2 fan suggestions made it in. Reverse Eye Patch with a +1 from that one welder guy. Support Handsome Pete, and King Atticus also suggests Headmaster Greystash. I feel like I need to look up Earthland Wizard again.
Please
Earthland Wizard.
Very tutorial. Kind of have the same vibes.
Yeah. I feel like the biggest point of difference is that Earthland Wizard doesn't seem like he can pull off gags as well. Like, he's too respectable. Haritas needs to be able to, like, eat shit every now and then.
I mean, I don't think that any of the bits of him eating shit are particularly funny enough to like warrant, this is not a funny enough pick for him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't.
I'm more in support of Headmaster Greystash, but if we want to put this on hold for while we go through others, if we want to use it for negotiations, we can do that.
Sure.
All right. We then have Keaton, the little boy wandering in the snow. Who do you have for Keaton?
Now, my Rodrigo style for that is Prius Albertson.
Mm-hmm.
And my other pick is Bartleby Barrows, the Bart from the book from Diatribe of a Mad Woman.
Yep.
Yeah, you know the one.
Mm-hmm. So I did a wild choice for my Rodrigo style. Would you like to know what it is, Janine?
Sure.
Barack Obama.
That is. Oh my god.
He's bringing Frankie to free healthcare, but ultimately all he does is gentrify Frankie. My throwback is Gravy, and then I also have Smithers as Bart. Do you feel heavily pushed in one way or another?
I don't see a lot of merit holding on to Prius Albertson. I feel like I'll forget about Prius if we don't burn Prius soon.
Yeah, I'm good to use Prius. Prius, a character who is not treated as a gag on one of the Simpsons wikis, even though we never hear about him again. You may remember me complaining about them forgetting about Comic Book Guy's adopted son, and I had not known the context for that. So, eat shit, former Luke. We then have Taro Emo. My Rodrigo style is Scooby Doo, because this was also our first actual Scooby Doo. He is a tattoo along with Barack Obama on his chest, on the chest of Frederick Tatum. My throwback was Joe Bryant, the Gravy and Joe Bryant claymation dog. I think that claymation is the future, and so having that for a cyborg dog makes a lot of sense. And then I also put on Hercules, who is Smithers' like terrier dog. Who do you have, Janine?
I have, for my Rodrigo style, Marmaduke.
Mm-hmm.
And Shelbyville Millhouse's dog as my other pick.
And what's this?
Pere, 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 pere.
We got suggestions. Alex K from the One Piece podcast suggested Laddie. Reverse Eye Patch suggested Flipsy. And that one welder guy suggested Wiggle Puppy. And Janine, I'm kind of on the Wiggle Puppy train.
Oh my god. The one that flies by wagging his tail?
Yeah, that dog's had some major adventures. If you're telling me that a cyborg dog has not had adventures, how he become a cyborg, Janine?
I gotta go Wiggle Puppy. That's too good.
Wiggle Puppy!
Wiggle Puppy for the win.
All right. We then have Shanba, who is the indigenous person who captures Chopper at the end. My Rodrigo style was the guy who married Brooke Shields, because they have the same energy. Like, you look between those two, and it's like, oh, that's the same guy essentially, except the guy who married Brooke Shields is less offensive. I also have, mhm.
Presumably.
I also have Tok Tok from Missionary Impossible, and then I have Bonanza Indian 2. Who do you have, Janine?
For my Rodrigo style, I have the old Brad Pitt.
Mm-hmm.
And for my other pick, I have Chief Nakahomer.
Even though Chief Nakahomer is a robot.
I have no love for that thing. The best part about that episode was Kill Hamid IE.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
And maybe that bias does paint my opinion of Chief Nakahomer, but I back a champion. That champion's name is Kill Hamid IE.
So you don't actually want Chief Knockhomer to win because Chief Knockhomer is a loser and a cheater.
Yeah, and to be honest, I kind of really taken a shine to the guy who married Brooke Shields, now that you've mentioned him.
Hell yeah, let's go with the guy who married Brooke Shields, because we were going to forget about the guy who married Brooke Shields otherwise. We then have Elizabeth. And who do you have for Elizabeth?
Well, my Rodrigo style was the old Angelina Jolie,
Mm-hmm.
also trying to burn that. But my other pick was the bearded lady from Homer Palooza.
Interesting. My Rodrigo style was Homer dressing as Marge to try and get her out of the fight. The throwback that I had was Poison Lenny, and then I also had Lizzie Borden Martin, because if we are going to have characters who are drag queens, we can at least get some people who have energy, even if it comes from a negative place. And also, like, Martin Prince, Lizzie Borden kind of has the energy of a person who would be willing to force femme Sanji Jimbo.
Man, that would look pretty awesome, though. Ha! Sure, let's go with Martin Prince. Honestly, Martin Prince has been discussed as like definite egg energy for a long time coming, and this kind of feels kind of eggy, so.
Oh, yeah. Martin Prince ends up being trans or a Phantom of the Opera. So it's going to be the future soon. We then have Soren, a character who I had to just force myself to put choices for, because every time I see that weird face, it's like, I don't care about this character. This character is non-canon, and it feels too much like a work. My Rodrigo style was the Danish exchange student. My throwback was Goldilocks. And then I also put on Nina Skalka, one of the Simpsons characters who got their name randomly from the Simpsons video game, if I remember correctly.
Huh.
If I preface it with, if I remember correctly, I don't have to correct myself later on, because I don't care. Who do you have, Janine?
My Rodrigo style was the bookstore saleswoman.
Mm-hmm.
I just was throwing shit out there. But my other pick is Celeste from the Lisa versus Malibu Stacy. She's the girl with the Malibu Stacy that has the voice box from Spider-Man. And you look up in the Simpsons wiki and you see the look on her face, and she looks like she's like sad and like 2 seconds from crying, and how Soren also looks like she's 2 seconds from crying all the time. It just kind of hit me.
Janine, my friend, you got that. You got it.
Hell yeah.
All right. We then have Heracleson. Who do you have for Heracles?
I have, for the Rodrigo style, Barry Bonds.
Newberry Bonds.
New Barry Bonds. Oh, that's right. We had an older Barry Bonds.
Uh-huh.
And my other pick is Bart as Shadow Knight from March Gamer. Because I feel like they are going to have a very Bart and Millhouse dynamic going on that island.
Interesting. All right. My Rodrigo style was Lyle McCarthy because Heracles is going to be training Usopp, and we have a trainer that we can use on this episode. My throwback is Pie Man because he is a sort of food themed person on a food themed island, which is also going to fit. And then my third choice was the Human Fly because Bug Man hero costume. And then once more, we got suggestions. Thank you again for everyone who submitted suggestions correctly through the various feeds. Oh no, I have too many windows and I lost the window with the spreadsheet. There we go. That one welder guy suggested Bear Suit Homer, which I don't want to use here because I feel like the suit is not as important. Part of me really wants to go with the trainer, Lyle McCarthy, but I think that the Human Fly, this is going to be our best opportunity to use the Human Fly, who's kind of doing his own thing, and other people in the episode, particularly that would be the B Sharps, are kind of pulling attention away. Also, bug costume.
Yeah, I do love the joke of the Human Fly, and pairing up with this kind of a joke of a character just seems too perfect. You got your Human Fly.
Hell yeah. All right, and then we have Pecori, the satanic cultist who full on just wants to summon Satan. And for Pecori, I have Chet Englebrick, the Ultimate Fighting whatchamacallit founder, because they just have similar dumb energy. My throwback was Melted Wax Elvis, and then I also had on Ezron Carver of Craven Images because he is worshiping Satan actively.
Huh, yeah.
Who do you have?
Well, my Rodrigo style was Jack the Ripper.
Mm-hmm.
And my other pick, it was more aspirational.
Mm-hmm.
And I did not actually look to see if we've used this character, so we might have to look it up. But Boobarella.
Let me look up the boobs. No, we have not used Boobarella.
Luke, wouldn't it be funny?
Uh-huh. Wouldn't it be funny if what?
If we use Boobarella here?
Janine?
We're gonna need to save our very large-breasted gothic women. Oh my god, large-breasted gothic woman watch?
Yeah, let's go with that.
Okay.
We are getting close to what is called the time skip, which the animation's going to get a lot more jiggly. The costumes are going to get a lot more scanty. And yeah, we need them titty.
Okay. Then I suppose then I would be very fine putting one Satan worshiper with another.
Ezron Carver favorite images.
You got it.
All right, which brings us back to Haridus. Um, so you are still more on Earthland Wizard.
Yes.
Would you be willing to accept Rodney Dangerfield?
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Everybody gets to hold on to their wizards.
I bent my Wookie. All right, and that brings us to the end of the list. So we have Fisher Tiger and Jinbei are put on hold for now. Haridus is Rodney Dangerfield. Keaton is Prius Albertson. Teruimo is Wiggle Puppy. Shanba is the guy who married Brooke Shields. Elizabeth is Lizzie Borden Martin. Soren is Celeste. Heracleson is the human flying. And Peccary is Ezron Carver of Craven Images. So, Janine, do you know what we have next time?
What do we have next time?
We are going to start going into Horny Jail. We will have a guest on the episode unless something happens. And then we have our first movie crossover that we are dealing with where we're going to deal with appropriation of Mexican culture.
Wow.
Yeah. Not in the movie, in the filler that kind of leads into the movie. But if you watch the dub of the movie, you do have a white guy doing a Jamaican accent.
Wow.
Yeah. Also, you get a what I'm going to call quantum canonicity, in which the events of the movie did not happen, but the character that the movie is about and one of the instigating incidents did canonically happen. So, yeah, Horny Jail, and then the first movie, and then we're going to be in Horny Jail for a while.
Well, that is a hell of a thing.
Come with me, and you'll be in a place of horny incarceration. There's 5 floors, maybe more, with tortures much worse than laceration. There'll be tits and some ass as we explore this punitive station. This is the bit that I mentioned earlier that I just wanted to do now. Janine, where can you be found online?
You can find me on Blue Sky, JanineJuliet.biscuit.social, and also Instagram, Janine is dope. I don't know what else to do because Blue Sky is kind of weird now, and I don't have anywhere to go because I'm not doing Mastodon. I'm sorry. I am not that put well together to brain hard enough for Mastodon. I need my social media to be stupid easy.
Yeah. I feel like Alex Winter will come out with a cool social media platform.
Well,
From Bill and Ted.
cute. Okay.
I have no reason to say that other than he just seems to be very chill and pro-trans rights and anti-fascism. And if you've got money, I mean, you could easily make a new platform and then just be like, hey, this is a safe place for trans people and artists to post their stuff without things, and we can just have a rule of, hey, if your vibe sucks, we will ban you, and then you don't have to deal with horrible turf shit. All right.
Where can you be found on the internet?
You can find me at Coltreg, at Blue Sky, or at itch.io, or technically Gumroad, but I haven't updated Gumroad, and lukehair.com. I'm also on Discord and Reddit, unfortunately, but they they started doing the Duolingo thing where if you haven't posted for the day, they'll be like, "Hey, you don't want to break your streak," and I'm like, "God, I don't want to break my streak. Okay, I guess I'm going to post." And so that's why I keep using Reddit. That and to just find out how to beat Vampire Survivors. And Janine, I beat Vampire Survivors.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, the tip is to find the glitch room where you can just kill infinite Atlanteans for golden eggs, and then money is no longer a problem.
You know, they tried to tell me this in college, and I just didn't believe them.
Yeah, and I went to art school, so they didn't tell me that. DohMance Dawn! Our covers are currently by Mike Patten. Please send him money because he is being very gracious and is helping me out while I am currently unemployed and don't necessarily have enough to pay for covers. So if you want to send him some money or hire him to do work, he does a great job at what we are giving him. And yeah, I am very gracious for him. The podcast updates at DohManceDawn.com. We're on iTunes and all those other things. We also have YouTube, which, if you don't want to use other social media, you can use comments. And we have one person who primarily comments on almost every video. And I am not going to lie. Sometimes it is just having one person commenting that they like your work or that they have thoughts on it. Thank you, Aitor Molina. Aitor, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but your comments are something that I am always happy to respond to, and even though we disagree on some things, shout out for leaving comments.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. And that's it. If you do want to support the show, there is a Patreon under my name, Luke Hair, LUKEHERR, and that gets you episodes usually when I have done editing them. And yeah, otherwise, we will see you as we go to Impel Down. And God, now I have to come up with a new bit because I just spoiled the Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory thing. The Charlie the Chocolate Factory thing. Shit. Okay. See you for the next bit in the new year. Safe sailing.
See you in the future.